Hey everyone, how's it going? Today I'm doing a review of a movie that I really didn't think I would ever see, let alone have to talk to people about. And it's a remake of the 2002 movie Cabin Fever. Now when the original came out back in 2002, look... Now when the original Cabin Fever came out, I really dug that movie, okay? It was my kind of flick. I know a lot of people didn't like it, I know it didn't fare well with the critics, etc. But there was a certain quirk, there was a personality to the movie that really spoke to me. You know, I really connected with its sense of humor. So last week I was browsing the DVDs in the local store and I came across one called Cabin Fever that looked like a recent movie, had a different cover, etc. Anyway, after a little bit of research I found out that they actually remade the movie. When will they learn? I mean, aside from the fact that only 14 years has passed since the original one came out, I just didn't really see any point in remaking that movie. It wasn't like a huge success or anything. And not only that, it was as good as it could be. I mean, there was no real sort of way to improve it or anything like that. It was just its own kind of movie and I dug it for what it was. But since I love the first movie so much, and even own 2 copies of it, I own the Australian one and the US one because they had different special features. I also have the soundtrack. Yay! Cabin Fever 2016 was directed by a gentleman who goes by the name of Travis Z, and it stars Gage Golightly, Matthew Daddario, and Samuel Davis. Yeah, pretty much some people I'd never heard of before. So the movie is essentially just a beat-for-beat remake of the original. 5 young people go out into a cabin in the woods where they're attacked by a killer flesh-eating virus. The killer in the movie is a virus, which is pretty cool. You know, I like virus movies. Yee! And save for a couple of very minor plot details, it was really exactly the first movie, just done again. Remember when the remake of Psycho came out in the late 90s and it was a shot-for-shot remake of the original? I'm talking the shots were framed exactly the same way, everything. It was like, there's just no point to doing this. And to me, you know, if you're gonna remake a movie, at least do something different with it. You know, put your own stamp on it or something like that. I just couldn't imagine remaking a movie and just thinking to myself, well, yeah, let's just do it the same way it was done before. I mean, you know, worked the first time, may as well do it again. Generally, I'm really not a fan of remakes. I mean, for the most part, they just don't work. Occasionally, you do get one that does work, like this. It was awesome! But in cases such as The Ring, which, you know, I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for because a lot of people love that movie, but to me, the Japanese original was so far superior. And that's just one example. I mean, there is a ton of movies that just should never have been remade. And Cabin Fever is most definitely one of them. The first thing that came to mind with this flick was that they took the fun out of the original. I mean, say what you will about the original, you know, whether you like it or not, but at least it had kind of a fun, quirky sort of an atmosphere to it. The characters, they were pretty likable for most part, and they each had like a unique personality. Admittedly, they were kind of horror movie cliche personalities, but at least they were still individuals. The remake, they took that away. They basically made the 3 male characters pretty interchangeable. You know, in the original, you kind of had your pretty boy, I guess your sort of jock character, and your stoner loser sort of guy. Like I said, cliches. Whereas in this one, yeah, you had those 3, but aside from the stoner guy, you really couldn't tell the difference between the other 2, to the point where for a while I was actually having trouble remembering which one was which because they kind of looked alike. At least in the original one was blonde, so that worked. And that being said, the acting was really bad. I'm talking just line reading. I mean, all the characters seemed kind of miserable and bored, which didn't make it much fun to watch. You know, at least the original, the characters all had personality and some charisma. The story, again, was just the same as the first one. It was slightly modernized. This time around, they had the issue with cell phones and such when they get to the cabin and there's no signal, so they can't use the phones or, have internet, that kind of thing. Which led to one really, really bad dialogue exchange between a guy and a girl, whatever their names were. The girl's taking selfies and stuff, and the guy comes in and says, "What happened to no signal?" To which she replies, "I can still post stuff, it'll just take longer." Huh? If there's no signal, how you can't post stuff on the phone if there's no signal. It doesn't take longer, it takes never. And there was a few other things that just didn't make sense. Oh man, the ending was one of the most nonsensical things I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm not going to spoil it. Actually, you know what I'll do? I'm going to talk about it at the very end of the video, okay? I'll save it till then because I do want to mention it. So if you don't care about spoilers, stick around till the end of the video. I'll talk about it then because it really baffled me. And speaking of the ending, there was something in the end credits that really left me quite puzzled. And that was where it said that the movie was written by Eli Roth and executive produced by Eli Roth. Now, executive produced I can understand, but he actually wrote this. I'm really baffled as to how anyone could get to a point in their life where they're that devoid of any new ideas that they actually think rewriting their first movie is a good idea, but rewriting it badly. Look, if this movie took the first one and did something new to it and amped it up in a big way and stuff, like, yeah, okay, cool, that'd be alright. Again, this one. But to do another version of it that just had all the life sucked out of it, I really cannot understand that. Anyway, look, this flick, just don't bother. You've got the original one, so if you've seen that, just stick with that. If you haven't seen the original one, check that one out. Don't bother with this one. Absolutely stick with Eli Roth's 2002 original. As it is, Cabin Fever 2016 gets a 2 out of 10 from me. And I'm only giving it 2 points because it was adequately shot. Like, the cinematography was okay. I guess the editing was alright. The gore effects, passable, but yeah. That's about it. So guys, I am still trying to give this away. I know, I still have it. Why do I still have it? Because I don't have 100 subscribers. For those who don't know, as soon as I hit 100 subscribers, I'm going to be giving away that copy of The Force Awakens to one random person. All you need to do is subscribe to my channel, and look, it doesn't seem to be going too well, so share it around. Try and get people to subscribe because I really, really want to give it away. I mean, by now, we're getting pretty close to the next Star Wars movie, so I'd really like to give it away before then. And thanks very much to everybody who's been dropping me comments and getting some discussions about movies going and stuff like that. I really appreciate it, because after all, that is the point of this whole thing. So I'm about to go and see X-Men Apocalypse, which I'm sure is much better than Cabin Fever 2016. And I'm really looking forward to reviewing that one. So in the meantime, leave me some more comments, let's get some more chats happening, because I like to talk about movies and I would love to talk about movies with you. Bye for now.
Hey you there. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Click subscribe. You see the big word up the top that says subscribe? Well, click on it. Click on it now. Do it. Yeah.
Right, so this thing that I was talking about before, that's a bit of a spoiler, so I'm assuming that if you're here, you don't care about spoilers or you've seen the movie, that sort of thing. So at the end of this flick, we get a scene where there's some random girl who's a friend of Karen, the blonde girl who died, and she's looking on her iPad and she's going through the photos that Karen was posting from her, well, less than favorable holiday. So she starts off going through with the normal photos, that kind of thing, but then she gets to some photos from when Karen dies. Now, Karen dies because she gets, covered with this flesh-eating virus, and she's laying out in the shed, and she gets one of the guys, she's like, "Please kill me, please!" And so he tries to shoot her, that doesn't work because the gun has the safety on. He gets a shovel and apparently stabs it into her throat, which somehow doesn't kill her. So he eventually sets her on fire, which is pretty horrible. So this random girl at the end, she's going through her photos, and The last couple of photos are of Karen with the disease laying in the shed and stuff, and one where the camera's kind of looking up at the guy with the shovel. Now, what? I mean, really? What? Like, for starters, she never took photos at that point. She didn't even have her iPad or phone or whatever with her. So where the hell did these photos come from? It made no sense whatsoever. And seriously, it was probably the worst ending I might have ever seen, just because it just made no sense whatsoever. Okay, bye.